My special guest is Stuart Craft from the Oxford Independent Working Class Association, and you're actually going to be involved in the Blackberries Olympics, the Pegasus Olympics.
That's right.
Yeah. So we spoke about this last week, wasn't it?
We did.
How's everything going?
It's going really well. We're getting new groups on board all the time. The Oxford University the Oxford University Sports Department, rather than the individual colleges. Lot easier to work with the university than the colleges, really. But they've agreed to help out, send the judo club along for displays. So we've got loads of different groups coming and getting involved. It's looking to be really good. So
it's going to be like a full, complete day.
It kicks off at 10 a.m. It's on the 7th of July, and it kicks off with the Blackberries Mile, which is the IWCA Athletics Club has been asked by the school to organise that race. So we're going to have loads of stewards out there, make sure it's a really good event. There's going to be medals for all the winners, obviously. Well, medals for everybody who take part, for the primary school children. So it's going to be good.
So where's the mark? It's going to take.
That's going to be around Blackberries Park.
Okay.
Yeah, across the way from Pegasus, and then once we've done that, we're going to have a mini football tournament in the middle of the park while the race is going on. And then everyone's going to come back over to the school, and they've got quite big grounds in there. They're going to have all different displays and everything else from all different sports groups. It's going to be a very professional, well organised event.
So are you looking for more groups, more sports groups to actually?
Yeah, I mean we're definitely looking for volunteers, and there are still one or two spaces on the agenda if you're listening out there and you've got a sport that possibly most working class people wouldn't have had the opportunity to partake in. Something like, I don't know, I think we've got Gaelic football on already, but I don't think we've got a rugby team at the moment, or the school's investigating that. But anything you think you could add to the day,
because there is a fencing. We had a young gentleman here. He's actually part of the Olympic team, not Olympic team. He's one of the umpires, judges for the fencing, and he said that. I asked him, is fencing seems to be one of these things which is unreachable for normal everyday people. And he says that there's a fencing club in Headington who allow you to just come in and try it out and stuff like that, and it'd be good to see some fencing there.
Of course, fencing was mentioned by the school when we went in there, so maybe they're contacting them. If not, the next meeting I have, I'll bring that up.
Because I think, and look, when you see these elite sports as people may consider them, they said well, we can't reach that because we haven't got, our school doesn't provide it and stuff. I mean, what do you think of that? Because like a game like polo, it's known as a very rich man's sport. Also,
you need a horse to start with.
You've got golf. Golf used to be a very upper class sport. You couldn't walk into a golf club and say, I want to hit that ball. They will frown on it and everything. I mean, what do you think about sports like that?
Well, I mean, golf now, not my bag, I must admit, but you can't move for tripping over somebody from the place I work at, the Oxford Bus Company, if you went to the local golf course. But golf's become very popular amongst working class people. But a lot of sports, as you say, polo and things like that, are the opportunities are not there. For working class people, and we've seen that any sport that is open to working class people tend to dominate. Do you know what I mean? Even tennis, for instance, the Williams sisters, they come into the game. Were they working class? I think they come from a working class background, and they dominate. But there was a lot of working class people who were kept out of that sport. You know what I mean? Football, you won't hardly meet a middle class footballer, will you, or a boxer? So
why was that? Why do you think that they was actually kept out?
Well, I think there's an element of snobbery there, isn't there? With the athletics club, I've noticed, on a lot of the races, it's a great atmosphere, nice people, and that. But there is a lack of working class, especially at a youth level. When we go to cross country events and all this, there seems to be a lack of working class participants, and I mean that's why we set up the athletics club on the estate there, so we could get kids involved in running. And at schools, I mean, if you look, one area where they've withdrawn a lot of resources from working class schools, obviously over the years, but this thing about there's a lack of discipline and there's a lack of competitive sports. And this is like a social experiment, and the very people that bought in that social experiment for working class areas, and in my opinion with disastrous results, were quite happy to send their children to public schools where top of the agenda is competitive sports and discipline. You know what I mean?
The thing about because I've heard in my son's, not so much in my son's school but other schools around Oxford, that they encourage the children, everybody is a winner. There's no, especially in sports days, nobody wins or loses. If you cross the line first, you get a well done, and if somebody comes across the line last, they still get a well done.
That's a load of nonsense, though, isn't it? To be honest with you, I mean, of course, those that come last, they put some effort in, give them a big pat on the back, and they have achieved something by just taking part. But if the world's not like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People, if you condition children to not try and it doesn't matter where you come. Even though you had the ability to run a sub 4 minute mile, the fact that you did it in an hour because you stopped halfway around to get a pizza, that's fine. You'll get as much praise as as if you put the effort in. No, I think competitive sports are important.
I personally think so. Go to win. Going to win because that's what life in itself is the biggest competition. You got to compete for that job. You got to compete for this, compete for that. So it's part and parcel of life. But when you take it away from kids,
well, of course, but in the sporting arena and in the world of business are two different things. And of course, people have to compete to get on. But let's hope they compete to get on collectively.
Yes,
like a bit of teamwork.
Yeah.
Let's so in the past, working class movements, when they meant something, when we had working class movements, really, were all about education for all. Education so that people went away to places like Ruskin College there. I'm talking 100 years ago now. They went there from coal mining areas, from steel areas and all this, and they went there to get educated, to go back into their communities, to bring everybody else back up. But now the ethos is, let's drag the greatest minds out of working class areas, make them middle class, and then they can go off and gloat over how much money they've got. Do you know what I mean? That's not what we stand for at all.
And what, in your mind, what is a working class person now? Because I think people, I think that the goalposts have maybe moved a little bit for people who consider themselves, I'm working class, but somebody else will consider themselves, you're middle class. I mean, what is the class system?
Well, it's not really a subjective thing. It's an objective thing, really. I mean, the fact of the matter, I've heard people, very posh people in the council chamber, say there is no working class, and I say, well, if you look at the difference between Blackbird Leys then and North Oxford, Summertown, you're telling me there's no difference, that we're, that's an area where there's predominantly middle class, a very wealthy area. This is an area where there's not quite as much money, and most people, they don't own a business, they don't even manage a business. Mostly they work, they sell their labour. That's what we do. Or when they're fortunate enough to work, but when they have a job. But if you're working class, you tend to live in a working class area, but not always. And there are people who are culturally working class, who come from the working class, who might be a millionaire footballer, but culturally they'll always be working class, but in income-wise, But that's a small minority. We can talk generally that we've got an area like Blackbird Leys would be working class, and whether you consider yourself to be middle class or you could consider yourself to be the king of Cairo, but the fact is that it's in your interest to work together with the people around you in this area to lift the area up, and work together in the common interest.
So what about somebody who's come from a fairly privileged background, but that they feel comfortable working in a less affluent area?
Well, good on them. Good on them. I haven't got any problem with that at all. The problem is a lot of politicians, and this including like people like Nick Griffin and the BNP, come from wealthy backgrounds, and they have no real empathy with working class people. I'm not talking about sympathy, I'm talking about empathy. Unless you've walked in our shoes, right, then it's difficult to empathise properly. And so people make decisions on behalf of working class people that basically, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's why some working class areas are hellholes. We can talk about the state-sponsored multiculturalism is a good example. This is something, again, where the likes of the BNP, the Labour Party and various other people all have a lot of common ground here. So we've got the National Front before Griffin and that formed the BNP. National Front were calling for white-only youth clubs, right, which is a ridiculous notion. But it was the Labour Party that brought in black-only youth clubs. On this in this community centre at Southwood, the Afro-Caribbean Youth Project, supported very much by the Labour Party. We've got Asian young man-only youth projects across the city. You've got the Labour Party funding imams in the local college and Quranic lessons. This is all kind of stuff that the BNP love, because they believe in the separation of the races. They believe we shouldn't be integrating, and whether some people do it because they got good intentions, or some people, and I believe most of them do it just purely out for opportunistic reasons. They're looking for the block vote. So but this idea that you're born in Pakistan, so you must be a Muslim. One of the great things about a secular democracy, in theory, is that people could come here from anywhere in the world and leave whatever baggage they want, and they can just do what they want, right? If they want to leave their religion behind, they can. But the likes of the Labour Party say to you, no, you're Pakistani, so you are Muslim, and we're going to, just to ensure that you don't break away from that box, right? Here's an imam for your college. Do you know what I mean?
My special guest, Mr. Stuart Craft.